Hey guys, Dr. Millie here. How are you? I hope you can hear me because I am in my co-working space. I don't want to talk too loud. I'm going to turn the volume up. Just let me know if you can hear me. So I wanted to make this quick video today because we're going to discuss the 5 primary domains of self-care. And self-care is a massive buzzword these days, super trendy. There's self-care kits. Millennials are engaging in self-care in abundance and spending tons of money on self-care. Research shows that baby boomers who need self-care now, because the baby boomers are the ones who are suffering most from chronic disease, are not engaging in effective self-care. So this is something that we really need to look at, to reach out to baby boomers to help them understand how to do effective self-care, but also millennials who are engaging in self-care, are they doing it in an effective way? So research shows maybe not, because millennials are actually sicker at a younger age than baby boomers were when at this age, like in their late 20s and 30s. And then, of course, there's a generation between there, Gen Y, which I'm part of. And so we're kind of in the middle between the baby boomers and, or I guess Gen X is in there. And we're kind of between. And so we're also going towards chronic disease and working hard to prevent. And we can prevent chronic disease with self-care. This is really the solution to the chronic disease problem. Americans are dying from chronic diseases that are preventable, that are nutrition, that are lifestyle based, and their medicine is going in this direction, absolutely. But even if you go to a doctor, the doctor is going to tell you to do a whole lot of things at home for yourself, right? So this is why NatMed Coach, we're kind of nipping it in the bud, and we want to give this information to you directly so that you can use it effectively. So, but there's no point in engaging in self-care if it's not going to help you prevent and or treat chronic disease. Because yes, getting your nails done, yes, relaxing is nice, but we want it to contribute to our health and our longevity. There's not that much research on what kind of self-care is effective, but there is a lot of research on how blue zone populations, people who live in the longest living and healthiest living populations, have the most longevity, have the most centenarians, people who live till 100, 110 and above. There is lots of research on what factors contribute to their long and healthy lives. And we as Americans, Canadians, Western Europeans, other members of developed nations really need to look at how we adopt those habits so that we can also become long, healthy livers, not just long livers, right? We know that so many medical resources go towards the last 6 months of life here, and that is not the ideal time for medical resources to be spent. And so actually, I believe that we can redistribute healthcare resources by taking care of our health, and certainly make the healthcare system a lot cheaper so that people in their 40s, 50s, and 60s are not going to the hospital for medical emergencies and using those kinds of resources. So whatever your reason is, your personal reason for engaging in self-care, of course, your own personal health and well-being, the health and well-being of your family, whether you're preventing chronic disease or trying to treat and or reverse chronic disease, we want to pay attention to the 5 major primary domains of self-care. Now, 5 have been identified. Sometimes we talk about 4. Sometimes we refer to mental health or emotional health a little bit differently, like in relation to relationships, relationship health. But I'm going to cover the 5 major domains today and just talk about what factors, what daily habits are involved in each of those domains, and how you can use this and what the results would be if you start engaging and using these domains. Now, one key to self-care, effective self-care, is not doing the habits sporadically, but actually making them a daily part of your life. So doing them 5 days a week, 7 days a week. This is how you engage in proper self-care. It's not just, oh, I think of myself, every week or every month, or I do something good for myself, sporadically. No, in order for self-care to be effective, it needs to be done daily, habitually, and This is not to say that you need to be stressed out by making lists of all the things you need to do for yourself, right? We need to figure out for ourselves the individual way that it works for us in an authentic way, how we can live our life paying attention to all these 5 domains of primary domains of self-care. So the first domain is physical self-care, and this is certainly what we tend to think of often, because we think about self-care as eating right and exercising, and if you are taking supplementation, or if you're taking medications, or if you have to do some things in order to manage your chronic disease, these would be all in the heading of physical self-care. Going to bed on time is, sleep and sleeping at night, especially being in deep sleep by 2 a.m., which means you have to go to bed before midnight, has been shown to extend life, and also is intertwined with having chronic disease. A slew of chronic diseases are associated with not sleeping at night. So healthy sleep, longevity research in terms of addressing proper physical self-care shows that eating high proportions of fruits and vegetables, eating a low-calorie diet, so whether this is intermittent fasting or simply eating low-calorie foods, which are not packaged low calories, these are fruits and vegetables, are low-calorie foods, nutrient-dense, calorie reduced, right? So that's what we should be eating, and eating less, consuming small and regular amounts of wine, but never binging on alcohol, and engaging in natural movement, which is moving every 20 minutes. So exercise is not actually related to longevity, meaning that exercise in terms of going to the gym, lifting weights, that's not really related to longevity or even prevention of chronic disease. What is related to prevention and treatment of chronic disease, certainly weight loss is linked to the treatment of chronic disease as well as the prevention of chronic disease, because obesity is associated with many chronic diseases that we suffer from. So healthy weight is, how you have to do it, but exercise in and of itself has not been shown to help people live longer. So, but engaging in natural movement, which means moving every 20 minutes, improving circulation, stimulating endorphins, doing enjoyable movements, is definitely a part of longevity and physical self-care. And, I regard self-care, the goals of self-care, to also stay out of your doctor's office, right? We need to go to doctor's office for checkups, but we don't want to be, again, using healthcare resources, having to go to the doctor's office because we're feeling sick all the time. And so one key goal of doing physical self-care is definitely to stay out of your doctor's office. Mental self-care is the next domain. So mental self-care involves engaging in times of sober reflection, so not drunken reflection, but sober reflection, where you notice your thoughts, you notice what drives your emotions and your behaviors. Maybe you reflect on things that have happened to you in the past and you reason them out and balance them out. Techniques for engaging in mindfulness practices, going to therapy, talking it out, writing a journal, seeking expert advice. These are all aspects of how to get and engage in mental self-care. Benefits of mental self-care include being able to set goals for yourself, being able to follow through on them, appreciate your personal development, understand what drives you, what you're reacting to from the past, and again, balancing that out so that you're not reacting emotionally all the time to the thoughts that are coming into your mind. This, of course, having healthy mental self-care, which then closely is tied to emotional self-care, because our thoughts drive our emotions, which drive our behaviors. So we really do need to pay attention to our thoughts and those thoughts that are plaguing us, especially if we have repeating thoughts, if we have self-hating thoughts, self-loathing thoughts, self-damaging thoughts. These need to be addressed on a daily basis, whether it's through mindfulness. Meditation can be part of mental self-care in some cases, or even healthy sleep and nourishment can also help with thoughts. So we have to think about all these ways where we get healthy thoughts. Emotional or relationship self-care. Sometimes relationship self-care has its own domain, but we're going to lump them together because a lot of emotional self-care is about having healthy relationships with people. So we seek emotional self-care, not only by our mental self-care and what thoughts we think drive healthy emotions, but then they also, of course, include spending time with friends and family, people that we really like, not only people that we need to spend time with. Our animals, our pets, laughing daily is part of a healthy emotional self-care. So whether that's, watching comedy or having a laugh with a friend over something, definitely a healthy connection to loved ones, maintaining relationships from the past that you want to maintain, also ending relationships that are no longer serving you well, forming new relationships and bonds. A lot of people say you cannot bond with people past college, things like that. That's not true. We can bond with people all the time. It just requires a certain amount of effort to do that, which is healthy emotional self-care. And the ability to cry, the ability to express our feelings, the ability to cope with stress in a safe and productive way. These are wonderful results of emotional self-care. So this is when our emotions are not only painful. Painful emotions might be part of life, but our emotions shouldn't only be painful. We can actually feel gratified and satisfied from having a good cry or having a good discussion with somebody about our feelings. And it allows us not to be pent up, and it allows us also to engage in better behaviors for ourselves. So if we are expressing ourselves emotionally, then we can also feel liberated to do things that we want and get to know ourselves better, understand ourselves better, express better, and then do authentic things that help to support our physical self-care as well. The fourth domain of self-care is spiritual self-care. And spiritual self-care is all about seeing beyond, identifying and seeing beyond the self, beyond what is actual physical matter. So this could include having a relationship with God or with the universe, or just appreciating the unseen aspects of